We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Live, live at IG and YouTube. We are back here, people. Sorry for the delay. When YouTube wants its money, you must pay, unfortunately. And I had to pay the piper today, or else I would be this broadcast would be much more tedious. So I had to get that out of the way. So I do apologize for the delay, but I had to pay the paymaster. That being the ubiest of tubiest. Anyways. We're back in live. Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Live, ladies and gentlemen. I was thinking it was going to be a snow week in terms of the red pill and entertainment, and politics, but not so, ladies and gentlemen. Lo and behold, never doubt YouTube, never doubt popular culture, never doubt social media to pick you up when you think you're down. And today was no different. And thank you very much for joining me at Talk Live, live at IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. On the road to 1,000 subscribers. I've said this 1,000 times. Sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTLK.com. Follow Winter Line out now. I have a bit of the old school version here tonight, but again, supporting the brand, and the brand supporting me. And thank you very much for joining me at Talk Live tonight. And we're gonna go with it and show with it. It's showing my my Zimmer frame, and I do not blame it at all. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back here live. Hope you had a good week. It's been a pretty good week here in Toronto. It's been a bit of a cool, cold day, but again, we are here to stay. But again, it was nice, brisk, lovely fall weather. If you love the fall like I do, it's my second favorite season of the year. No doubt about that. Next to summer. It used to be my favorite. Then summer said, you know what, summer's too fleeting out here. And it is when we turn up in these parts. To coin a phrase from the young ones. And so, yeah, I do love the fall as well as you can get back into the warm and fuzzies and get into the tracksuits without having to sweat your way out of them. And it's a great time to be in the city because all the leaves change color and it's so vibrant and new and crisp, and it has a bit of excitement, a bit of sizzle in the air, quite simply. And so we go. But I'm watching, seeing my Raptors getting their butts kicked by Cleveland tonight in their home opener. Lo and behold, I wouldn't have expected any less, and we're gonna have a very, very, very long season this season, to be fair. And looking great, and forward to that. But hey. This is the rebuild mode, and we've already had 19, baby. We will always have 19 and 4 bounces. That's all I got to say. But anyways, let's get into this. Kamala Harris, yes. Kamala's back. And Kamala wants to let you know that she may or may not be in love with you, but she's trying to tease out the black vote, quite simply, ladies and gentlemen. And no doubt about it. And no doubt about it, it's going to be a tough road, as we indicated last week. But she's trying her darndest with a new ad campaign specifically tailored to black male voters. Can you believe it? She really wants to show that she cares so much. But again, we're going to parse that out to see if it is indeed innovation, inspiration, or desperation, quite simply. And because she's desperate for the black vote to tip her over the scales because, everything's running neck and neck in most states. And as we saw last week, there is a huge amount of black conservatives out there who are not falling for the okie doke, and they need to be, they need to demand their demands for the vote even more, ladies and gentlemen, because it hasn't happened in the past or now, and Kamala Harris' track record with black male voters, let alone black men, is not exactly stellar, to be fair. Not only in life, not only in politics, not only law, but also in politics. So let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get to her new pitch for the black male vote. Let's get into it right here on Talk Live. Thank you very much for joining me. Sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTLK.com. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. As we do, we are on to the browsoo, and we're going to just have a look at the actual ad first. So let's get into it here. It is not from here. It's going to be from here. I try to see a clean version of it here. Let me see if we can. You know what? Hold on. Let me see if I can get a clean one. If not, I have something in the holster. Yeah, if not, I have something in the holster. So let me see if I can Indeed. No, we know about you, Diddy. And Lord knows we've covered you enough. But you will be covered again, Lord knows. And Kamala Harris. Let me see if I can get it here. All right. And Lord knows, ladies and gentlemen, oh my God. Wow. Seems my thing is running slow today, and I don't know why. I don't have a lot of things out here. So, but anyways, nonetheless, yeah. As we move on to, because we're getting down to the short and curlies, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting down to the latter stages of the campaign. The election, the U.S. election, is only 2 weeks away, and it's going neck and neck. So again, we will be covering it that much further as we move towards the actual day, and to. Right, here we go. That's right. Okay, all right. So, let me see. Okay, that's Fawcett Media. Yes. Right. Maybe we could use you too. Let me see over here. We may operate with it. Right. There's that too. Oh yeah, don't worry. Oh, we can just shut up for that because the Raptors
have reached a new low.
Okay, we've reached a new low, as maybe giving it away somewhat there. So again, we will get back to that. To be fair, and yeah, let's see if we can find the ad itself, the campaign. No. It doesn't seem to. It looks like it's an online ad, anyways. But anyways, we're gonna get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Talk Live. We have something queued up here. We will check that out in a bit as we do it. Yes, indeed. And so, here we go. We have something queued up already from Rory and Mal. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know about Joe Budden, these are the gentlemen who used to run with Joe Budden for many a year and created a internet monster, an internet, an absolute huge platform for themselves. And they broke ties with Joe Budden a few years ago, and now they have Rory and Mal doing very well in the YouTube streets. Subscribe to Rory and Mal. They are doing wonderful things. But let's get into the ad itself, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me in Talk Live as we view this. Now, we're going to just take a snippet of this, and then we're going to come back to this a bit later. All right? So let's get into it.
Only getting pussy if I vote for her.
I'm sorry. It's good to be here.
What do you do and how much?
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
How old are you?
6'5"?
Do you have a plan
You can
to vote
see
in
him.
November?
Nah, not my thing. Hello, ladies.
All right.
All right. If you didn't see that before, let's run it back one more time
How old are you?
for you. And yeah, it's
That's what I took from it. I'm only getting pussy if I vote
Hello,
for her.
ladies. I'm sorry. It's good to be here.
What do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
How tall are you?
6'5"?
Do you have a plan
You
to
can
vote
see
in
him.
November?
Nah, not my thing.
stop right there, ladies and gentlemen. The immediate reaction to this is this. As we've discussed here on Talk Live, ad litem. In order for you to be a man to be taken seriously by the ladies, you need to be guided by the rule of 6. You need to be 6 feet tall, 6-pack, 6-figure salary, and 6 inches or more. And this paints a picture immediately of said rule of 6, because these ladies asked for 2 things. Number one, if you noticed, and we'll run it back one more time for you. If you notice, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Actually, let's do a play-by-play of this ad. So we're gonna stop it from time to time and let you know how the rule of 6 is infused here, and how indeed the backbreaker is your support for Kamala Harris. Let's get into it one more time.
Let's play it and we'll talk about it. That's what I took from it. I'm only getting pussy if I vote
Hello,
for her.
ladies. I'm sorry. It's good to be here.
What do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
So first of all, what does it do and how much you make? So therefore, you as a man, as a black man, are only delineated by how much you make and what you do. So you're already being assessed by these ladies by what you do and how much you make. So again, take that as you will. Your manhood is decided by what you do and how much you make, to be fair, especially with regards to the ladies, right? So let's continue with that.
Figures.
How tall are you?
6'5"?
Do you have a
Right. So number 2, as he said, how tall are you? He said 6'5". So therefore, the ladies woo and coo at the fact that this man has reached the 6 feet or more barrier. So therefore, the rule of 6 is still in play. He's still at it. So a man like me, who's about 5'10" myself, I can't make it past this bar, and the whole 6-figure and what you do bit, that also plays a part, because again, if you're not making 6 figures, you're a loser. If you're not 6 feet, you're a loser. That's what this ad denotes, quite simply. So again, call that as it may, call it as you will. So it's already going off to a flying start. Now the next line they have is, do you have a plan to vote in November? Do you have to plan to vote in November? Let's get into it.
plan
They can
to vote
see
in
him.
November?
Nah, not my thing.
Okay, so I'll give them credit on this. I'll give them credit. They're pushing for you to vote, quite simply, and be a part of the electoral process. If you don't vote, well, then you're a loser as well. So if you're not 6 feet, if you don't have 6 figures, you don't have a good job, and you don't vote, quite simply, you're out of luck with the ladies and gentlemen. That's one thing that this ad teaches you. But again, give them credit. They're advocating for you to vote, quite simply. But where they fall short here is that you have to have the rule of 6 prerequisite before they even consider you seriously, which makes this ad. Well, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's really get into it before I really cast judgment on it. We're gonna rewind this back to the beginning for Rory and Mal. We'll get back to that, but I really want to have the take of, first of all, the Chisa Zed and the Coffee Pod. Coffee Pod we haven't really focused on recently, but he's doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets, still hitting high marks in terms of his subscribership. Please subscribe to Chisa Zed and the Coffee Pod. He is doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets, and I seek him out frequently in terms of my viewership. But again, we haven't had really any time to feature him on the channel until today. He does a wonderful breakdown of the actual ad and what it means for black male voters right now, right here. So let's get into it here on Talk Live. Kamala Harris is desperate for the black male vote and releases cringe ad. He's even calling it a cringe ad. Releases a cringe ad. If Obama let you down, this ad will too, is what Chisa Zed is saying. So let's get into it here on Talk Live. Thank you very much for joining me. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into it.
Breaking news, the Democratic Party is losing so much support from black men, they decided to resort to guilt and fear with new campaign ads.
Ladies on track, it's good to be here. Hey.
So, what do you do and how much do you
I work in finance, making 6 figures.
make? How tall are you?
6'5"?
Okay. Do you work out?
I like to stay active, yeah.
Do you have a plan to vote?
I didn't plan on it.
Stop it.
What the hell?
Join me on Discord to talk about it.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better. This can't be real. This
It is real.
Can't be real. There's no way. There's no way. You know what's funny about what I'm noticing recently? I'm noticing that a lot of topics I discuss when it comes to relationships are slowly beginning to become or political, right?
My husband is a big Trump supporter, so we fight all the time. Yeah, I used to argue all the time as well, and I realized arguing morals is not going to get you anywhere. Both parties firmly believe they are morally correct. If you look towards more ethics and look towards policy, having a discussion about, hey, look up this policy, look up that policy. Therefore, both of you can see there is no real good in both parties. That's why I don't believe that politics have anything to do with morals. These people are not moral. They're not good people. However, ethics, code of conduct, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at social economics. We're looking at different groups of people, and we're looking at the policies to see how they implement them. How do they affect and how do they ethically benefit the whole collective, not just one person or one party over another.
You have women who are
I like that idea that the fact that she has parsed things through and really thought about things, because most women wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. But she's an informed voter. She thinks that it's all about the ethics of the individual rather than the policy. I tend to think it's more policy than ethics. But again, with women, they'll tend to vote for ethics because it's not about what you say, but how you say it, quite simply. And so let's hear what Cheesa Zed has to say about it.
Complaining about being on dates and asking these men who they're going to vote for. My problem with that is that something you do? What I mean is, are you just hyped off the current political climate, or do you really care, right? Do you really care? I mean, if you care about social issues and dynamics within relationships and don't want something that's conservative, don't want a conservative man, and a man who has more traditional values, which I think we can make a pretty strong argument that a lot of these chicks who describe the type of man they want, it'd be hard to find a man like that who doesn't have, at least when it comes to social issues, more conservative values. I think they
stop that for a second. Indeed, we talked about that here on Talk to Talk Live. Yes, indeed. Golden Tight, very Golden Tide is here tonight. Thank you very much for joining me Talk Live, and Steve Tees as well. The one thing I have to say about that, we've already talked about here at Talk Live, is that no matter with regards to men, the older they are, the more conservative they become in terms of their outlook. And I can say that about my dad. I can say that about myself. I tend to be middle right. And more right as time goes on, definitely. And that's going to get that's going to be most male, no matter what color you are, no matter where you come up in terms of your belief system. You're going to tend to be more conservative, and also the fact that if you're going to be a protector and provider, more often than not, you're going to be a more conservative man. To be fair, okay, and so. And women understand that, and women from across the spectrum, be they left wing, be they totally feminist, or be they right wing, being them very traditional, they all want a man like this. They all want a man who is conservative, who's going to protect and provide, who is going to be confident, intelligent, assertive, and who is going to be there for their family. And if that's the case, usually it's the case that man tends to be more conservative than liberal. But let's continue with this.
Look for those types of men. But of course, when it comes to other different topics within politics, they'll probably differ with that person. So I thought it was really interesting that they have what it looks like the Pop the Balloon dating show now as a way to market and appeal to black men. I don't see an ad like this working. I just don't see an ad like this working at all. And unfortunately, a lot of chicks out here are calling black men the weakest link.
All right, stop that for a second there before we get into the weakest link. Yes, give a credit to the Democratic Party. They're actually going into the zeitgeist. They're actually going into popular culture and trying to find something that latches on to younger voters to get them out to vote. And they realize that the balloon shows are hot right now, as they say. And it would behoove the Democratic Party to tap into that and see that as being a marketing tool in order to try to bring back black voters, and in particular black male voters. But as Chisa Zed has already said here, that is not necessarily the way to get black voters. I mean, talk about the issues rather than talk about pop culture, because pop culture will get the ladies, but in terms of issues and policies, that's going to get to men, and how a black man's vote, they want to be catered to like any other demographic. They want to know that their vote is going to go towards something tangible, believable, and is going to help themselves, not only themselves, their families. But let's see what sort of naming and shaming we'll get into now that we have made as Chisa Zed has said, we have made his presence felt on that issue and given his opinion.
The way that black men are about to be the weakest link. Remember when it was 52% of white women voted for Trump? It's about to be black men. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for black men not wanting a black woman in power. Black men talking about I don't want no black woman and tell me what to do. Okay, but wasn't you raised by a black woman? Why are you scared of black women telling you what to do all of a sudden? Don't you live with your mama, sis?
Maybe, listen. Since she's having this conversation about family structures and homes.
And remember, you know what? A man like Myron on Fresh and Fit, Fresh brings this up all the time, especially Fresh. Fresh is very key on this, is that in order to name and shame you, a lot of black women, especially when they were trying to cajole black men to do as they want, they usually shame them by saying, "Who's your mama? What did she do to you? How is it that, your mama black? Why aren't you doing as a black woman tells you? You've done it all your life. Why not do it again?" And again, Kamala Harris is not my mother, unfortunately. And, well, fortunately. But anyways, she has not convinced me to do as she wishes. I mean, there's only one woman in a man's life, let alone a black man's life, who is going to, instantly say something and have her son do it, and that is your mother. But Kamala Harris is not my mother, and I shouldn't have to follow suit in order to do a black woman's bidding just because she shares the same gender as my mother. It's not going to happen, and black men don't want to be browbeaten and gaslit into doing something they don't want to do. So let's continue.
Maybe part of that is the reason. Maybe part of that is the reason that the black men who feel very strongly about where they stand politically currently are not so comfortable getting behind a woman.
Oh, sorry, you live with your grandma. Don't your baby mom raise your kids? Don't your baby mom pay your bills? Don't your baby mom give you a car to drive? What's going on here? Don't you?
Okay, I have never. Golden Titus here. Your mother full bottom dry up like steel pan. But your mother foot bottom dry up. Yeah, exactly. That's a good reason again, Golden Tight, for for you to vote for Kamala, because again, you have the same foot bottom again. Unbelievable. Oh, yes, and remember, your mother bought you things. Your mother bought you the car you drive, which is quite rare indeed. Your mother bought you the clothes you wore as a child. So therefore, you should transpose that loyalty towards someone who, how should I say this, who has no recognition for you, who would rather lock you up than hook you up with a car, and has no literal love for black men, as seen by, well, let's wait for it. Let me tell you, I'm waiting on it. Hold on. There's this one point, you'll know why I wait. And let's continue.
You and your baby mom live with your mom? Talking about some black woman can't run that. What are you talking about? Black women are historically the backbone of society.
It's so responsive for assuming that the black men who are voting and choosing to embrace more conservative values are baby daddies is what's crazy. I'd be willing to bet that the majority of the men who hold more conservative values especially when it comes to relationships and like social issues. I'm willing to bet those men are the childless men, the men who aren't out here creating a bunch of broken homes.
Stop. Yes, indeed. You know what? Chisa said is right. The type of men that you want, the type of men that, quite simply, you're trying to cajole, probably will not have babies. 54% of black men are single and childless. The majority of black men in the Western world are single and childless. 61% of them are in the middle class. I very much doubt they resided at home with their mother and their baby mother in order to get by. So that is a bit condescending, don't you think? She thinks that the world of black men is filled with babies. And remember, we revealed it yesterday on Talk Live. 46% of black men have children at all. So the majority of black men do not have a child. Do not. So let's get it right, people. Her type of naming and shaming is no longer true and is a dangerous stereotype that even black women bought into, which is trying to show their flex on superiority over us. But again, it's quite tiresome. We don't buy into that and we don't listen to it. Yeah, exactly. Let's continue.
This is interesting, man, because there is this trend, and it's not just with black women, but with women in general, where you see women becoming more liberal as men become more conservative.
This was an interesting article from The Guardian from last week. It's titled, "Young Women Are the Most Progressive Group in American History. Young Men Are Checked Out." This graphic is actually kind of amazing. So you'll see this graph in a little bit, but this right here is part of the graph that they used to show how women are becoming more liberal and how men are becoming more conservative. So they just added men and women to the graph, and it's quite interesting.
Stop there for a second. You say that this graph shows that, you can see it here on Talk Live on YouTube. This graph shows that as women age, women become more liberal / feminist, and men become a lot more conservative. However, as the caption reads on the bottom, Gen Z is seeking a historical reverse of the gender gap, with women poised to outpace men across every measurement of political involvement, meaning that men don't vote. Men have abstained from the electoral process, when that is exactly the reverse. It tends to be that men usually are the ones who vote and women are the ones who usually check out, because of the fact that they don't know what's at stake and what the politics are. Because men, as have been stated on many talks, including Fresh and Fit, that there's a stake in the electoral process for men, and usually it involves men having to go to war if war breaks out for their vote. Women have never had to fight for their vote. Never had to do that. So their vote, their right to vote was through the law, through the ballot, and the 19th Amendment in the United States was given to them, and the right to vote here in Canada through the Charter of Rights and Freedoms was done through the legislative process, and not the conscriptive process, which many men still are a part of today. Do remember that. Men have had to pay for their right to vote in blood. Women, not so much. And if you ask for them to pay for their right to well, you've seen the memes out there. If women had to pay for their right to vote in blood, they wouldn't vote at all. Let's continue.
Says Gen Z is seeing a historic reverse gender gap, with women poised to outpace men across virtual.
Let's continue that.
Single women are still buying homes, and this economy is impacting all of us, but women are still engaged. So it doesn't surprise me that young women are the most engaged politically. It warms my heart. Women have not given up and just said, "I'm gonna take my ball and go home, even if I don't have a job and I might lose my home." Women.
Yeah. Even if you lose your job and lose your home. Do you know the amount of foreclosures in the United States are led by women? Look it up. Look it up. Especially young single women who don't have a man at home. It is a huge burden for one to take on a household all by yourself, especially by women. So they may get loans and different buyer incentives in order to land a home, but as seen during the SNL crisis and as seen over time today, women are among the leaders especially young women are among the leaders in terms of the foreclosure of homes. Because not only do they have to deal with that debt, they have to deal with their educational debt, which usually is alleviated once within a marriage. But a lot of these women are carrying those debts alone. Therefore, especially in the United States, so therefore, one has to suffer. And usually it's that of the home. Just letting you know. But let's continue. Well, you gotta offer a bit of, a bit of insight on things and a bit of level-headed judgment on these certain things. You know what I mean? You have to give the good with the bad, the rough with the smooth. Let's continue. Thanks for joining me on Talk Live.
Okay, for the article. When Donald...
Is she talking about purchasing homes and saying that she's applauding women for buying homes, even though the market might F them over? I did a video recently on this exact topic. And yes, they also own the most debt, right? The most house poor. The most popular videos I think I released recently was on that topic in specific.
Trump strutted onto the stage at the Republican National Convention last month. It was to a raucous cover of James Brown, It's a Man's World. The song credits men with inventing cars.
Hold on, we got the Golden Tide here saying, Bretta, every time me cry that I'm a woman, some whatless gal them. Okay, yeah, well. There it is. That's speaking from a woman. There you go. Golden Tide, thank you very much for your comment. I love the name. I can't say it myself because Lord knows, it's the Me Too generation here. You know what I'm talking about here. So let's continue.
Cars, trains, lights, boats, toys, and commerce. And the message was not subtle, at least not to Melissa Deckman. This idea of America needing someone who is a strong, masculine figure, I think the Republican campaign this year is doing it even in a more pronounced and overt way than it did in 2016, said Deckman, CEO of the Public Religion Research Institute. You have a lot of younger men admiring the strength of Trump or what they think is strong. Deckman would know in her forthcoming book, The Politics of Gen Z, how the youngest voters will shape our democracy. She dives into the deep political divides between Gen Z women and men and explores how they feel about growing up.
Do you remember Melissa Deckman is, one of them girls and also a feminist. Okay. That's why Miss Dresslight will come. I love that from you, Golden Tide. Let's continue.
In the Trump era, based on interviews with roughly 90 Gen Z political activists, numerous focus groups, and extensive polling, Deckman has identified what she calls a historic reverse gender gap. She has found that Gen Z men are becoming more conservative, as well as increasingly indifferent to politics, bucking longstanding trends dating back to at least the 70s that saw young people across the board voting liberal and men being generally more involved in politics than women. And I am glad about that. I'm glad about that because these men want to strip women's rights. So I hope that they are all too lazy to get to the polls because they want to actively strip women's rights because they're not getting their women, their wife appliance in the home simply because they are born with a P.
Again, let me say this for the cheap seats. Point taken. But here's the deal when it comes to voting. And I said it a couple of minutes ago and I'll say it again. When men had to obtain the right to vote, they had to give of themselves. They had to put skin in the game in order to get that right. So therefore, they had to be of the conscriptive process. So therefore, if war broke out, they had to be they had to sign up to the war effort. They had to be soldiers. Women, on the other hand, won the right to vote, fair enough, but it was during peacetime, and they would never give it back, knowing that even if they do have the right to vote, they have never put skin in the game to get it. Meaning, they aren't going to war in order to fight a war. Now, certain women will, and we know which type. But anyways, we know which type. But anyways, we must understand that most women won't. If you ever seen these, these shorts of women, asked if they would, if they would exchange if they would still have their right to vote if they went to war, all of them pretty much shut down and Microsoft, Microsoft closed down, shut down, and basically walked away from the conversation because they never wanted to do that. They wanted to have the right given to them for free and not have to pay for it. Sounds chivalrous to me, doesn't it? Indeed it does. But anyways, so all this rhetoric of women saying, "Oh, we're going to be having a man appliance, a female appliance in the home." No, not really. We're asking you, but we're never at. Well, if you become if you want to keep a man, that is a way to do it. It's not exactly the way, and you don't have a gun to your head to do it, but it is a great incentive for you to keep a man. However, we don't see you as an appliance, number one. And number two, you never had to pay the price. Never had to pay the price for a vote. Let me see if there's any comments on the other end. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get into this. Do comment down below as we go along, people. I'll be reading comments live here on YouTube. Let's continue.
While Gen Z women have not only become the most progressive cohort in U.S. history, but are also expected to outpace their male peers across virtually every measure on the political involvement, such as donating money, volunteering for campaigns, registering people to vote, and of course, voting. So this is the graph that I wanted to get to. It's titled, "The Partisan Gap Between Young Men and Women Almost Doubled in the Past 25 Years." So if you start down here in the year 2000, you can see that there was a 12-point gap between the yellow, which is men, and the purple, which is women. And this line right here, the black line, is even, where it goes conservative at the bottom of the line and liberal at the top of the line. Now, women are always more liberal. If you look at the graph anywhere on this point from the year 2000 up to now, women are always more liberal. But it was only a 12-point gap in the year 2000. And now over here, there is a 23-point gap. Women are way more liberal than men, and men are quite conservative. Now, examining this graph.
Examining this graph, let's stop there for a second before she goes into it. Let's say this: if you see the graph here on Talk Live, the graph seems pretty steady as we move on into the noughties. Really, men have pretty much not been too different in terms of their conservative views. I think they're pretty steady as they get older, and as with the movement of time, men tend to be a bit more conservative. With that jump not being in 2015, that was during the Obama years where liberalism was at its peak. Now we have a movement now where feminism has really taken hold. The indoctrination machines in the universities have really taken shape, and we have this huge gap. But that gap is formed by women rather than men. Men have stayed steady. Women have become more liberal as time goes on. Women have started to color their hair. Women have have decided to become a lot more liberal in their viewpoints. They become a lot more feminist in their outlook. They tend to vote for more left-wing politics. They become more communal. as women have gained more power and influence in the workplace and within politics. So there's that huge gap there, especially when it came to the abortion issue, when it came to Supreme Court nominations, especially when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away. That's where you start seeing the separation. That's where you start seeing the difference of women really, and you can see the peak when it hit about 2020, especially during the lockdown, and especially during the Black Lives Matter movement. You start a huge shift in terms of women, especially during 2020, where a lot of them became a lot more liberal, a lot more defiant of conservative viewpoints. And that has leveled off as we moved into moved into the 2020s. However, there are certain phenomena that happened that allowed for that to jump up, especially in the graph where the purple is the women, the orange are the men. But as you can see, men have held steady in terms of their conservative views. Yes, things have moved to. Well, I think it was a more of a low into the 2000s, quite simply. Than now. I think things have leveled off as we speak. But again, I think from the Black Lives Matter movement to now, women have become way more liberal in their viewpoints. Let's continue.
And over here to where women dropped to be this conservative. This looks like it's about 2004. So if you guys can clue me in, what was going on?
I can tell you what was going on in 2004. That was the time of the George W. Bush administration and his second term. And conservative viewpoints was at, well, darn near an all-time high at the time. We had just invaded Iraq at the time, and looking for weapons of mass destruction. We had just been in the post 9/11 era, so things were definitely more conservative at that time. So she may have been too young to realize this, but I can tell you through my experience, my dearth of experience, what exactly went on there. But she didn't do her research. Anyways, no, we'll let that pass. Let's go.
In history or whatever in this country, about 2004, about 20 years ago, where women actually got quite conservative. What was going on at that point in time? But regardless,
yeah, that shows you haven't done your research, darling. Just letting you know. But let's continue.
yes, we did that dip, and then it has been up, up, up as far as women getting more liberal, and men have just stayed extra conservative. The Me Too movement, Trump's era was all right here, and women are just like, we can't go back. So that's what we're seeing right now.
All right, you see, that's the key point. We can't go back. Women have won power over time, especially through their right to vote, the right for equal pay, the right to abortion, all these different things. However, none of it had to be paid in blood. All of it was at the behest of men and the change of law. It was, so therefore there's no skin in the game. But however, and that's when women were looking for equality, which is all fair and good. However, now it's moved on toward a superiority movement. It's not a equality movement anymore. Feminism is a superiority movement now, where women want more power. She says they don't want to go back. So that's where you're going to see a lot more women take L's as we move forward, because they're not, they don't wish to be a support system for men. They don't wish to live amongst men. And you're going to start seeing, sorry, said fart. Anyways, you're going to start seeing a lot more women being alone. Kevin said it himself, winter is coming. And for a lot of women who stay entrenched in their viewpoints and wish to stay alone, they will be alone. They will be alone. And they will not have the protection and provision of a man, which is fine. But, all I'm saying is stock up on stocks on cat food, dog food, and wine, because they are going to be going through the roof in due course. I would say in the next 10 to 20 years. Let's continue.
So this graph is very, very telling. I do want to know what your thoughts are on this, where you see the men are just like, no, they are digging in their heels and they want to go back to a time when women didn't have access to their own finances, our bodies belong to them or whatever, and women are pushing back hard.
Well,
saying,
here's the thing: men have never asked for women to go back in time and give of their bodies to us and freeze their bank accounts to us. Men have basically stayed steady in terms of their conservative viewpoints. Things have changed over time in order for women to achieve certain rights, of which which never really threatened men. But now, see, that's where the ultra feminist comes out. They think that, oh, we're gonna bring them back to the house and have them chained to the oven and chained to the mop, chained to the dishwasher, and we're going to take away their right to vote, and we're going to do all these different things. So we're not going back. We're not going back. Okay. In a free, just, and democratic society, you have a right to choose what you want to choose. However, don't expect the protection of men to go along with it. Not the men you really want, because the men you really want tend to be, guess what, conservative. Just like.
we're not going back. Young women were outstripping men on the political engagement well before Joe Biden stepped aside in favor of Kamala Harris, setting the internet ablaze with memes and teeing up yet another presidential contest between Trump and a woman. Now, with Harris, the presumptive Democratic nominee, a generation already riven by a canyon-wide political gender gap is watching a contest between a woman who could become the nation's first Black and South Asian female president and a man who likes calling women nasty.
For you see, this article had to be written by a woman. I can guarantee you that. When you hear a paragraph such as that, where it's a contest between a woman who could become the first Black and South Asian female president, a man who likes calling women nasty, well, what do you think that means? That means it's a point in history. You can either go with you can be on the right side of history or the wrong side of history. The wrong side of history is with a man who calls women nasty, and the right side of history is when you're being aligned with the nation's first Black and South Asian female president. You can see there's the lines have been drawn. Heroes and villains have been made here. And to be fair, that is, well, single-minded journalism. That's myopic thinking. That's not being fair and balanced in your journalistic endeavors. And you're basically trying to sway the vote towards Kamala Harris. This is a yellow. This is a new type of yellow journalism. This is jingoistic, to be fair, and it's very feminist, to be quite honest. And it's asking for, and it's basically challenging men to get on the right side of history. This is the sort of journalism that, well, fell during fell during most great movements, especially during wartime, especially during times of crisis. This is where people took sides and have asked for men to as they say, do the right thing and vote for the first Black and South Asian female president, without knowing what her platform is, knowing how she's going to treat said men, and what her platform is altogether. Interesting. Let's continue.
The question come November is going to be, to what extent do attitudes about gender influence the vote for Trump? Deckman asks. Polls indicate that young men's views on gender, femininity, and masculinity are rapidly shifting. In 2022, 49% of Gen Z men said the United States had become too soft and feminine. Deckman found. Just a year later, 60% of Gen Z men said the same. So it goes from 49% in 2022 to 60% this past year. Deckman found those who agreed with the statement were far more likely to have voted for Trump in 2016 after controlling for political party.
You know, I've always said that, and it pretty much rings true today. This saying that good times lead to soft, feminine men. Soft, feminine men lead to bad times. Bad times bring out strong men, and strong men bring out good times. Where in the spectrum do you think we are right now? Comment down below. Let me hear what you have to say about this, because I am sincerely of the belief that we are on that spectrum where we have entered good times for a good amount of time. I think we have entered an age, despite recessions, an age of peace and prosperity that has gone, unchecked, unchanged for the last 50 to 60 years. We have enjoyed peacetime, the standard of living has increased over time, even though that is teetering towards the edge now. We have women have enjoyed expanded rights and privileges. Men have enjoyed certain amounts of increase in pay. However, that is slowly changing as well. And with that are the views that men are becoming more conservative in their viewpoints. That men are looking for things to make it easier for them to, raise them not raise themselves, but to live themselves, and also to live and also to support families. Because men have always, if they are prospering, they want their families to prosper. If women are prospering, well, they can support their family or they can support themselves, depending on, what type of woman you run up into. But for the most part, men of a certain age, of a certain standard of living, if they are prospering, they would like to share that prosperity with the people that they love. Let's continue. And women not so. Depending on the woman.
Beliefs of young men. So when asked these particular statements right here, this is they strongly agree or somewhat agree with the following statements. White people in the U.S. have certain advantages because of skin color. 72% strongly or somewhat agree. Guys can have their reputations destroyed just for speaking their mind these days. 65% agreed. Men should be represented and valued more in our society. 61% agreed. Feminism is about favoring women over men. Over half agreed. Things would be better if women held more power positions in society and men did more around the house. Only 33% agreed with that.
So let's have a look at this tiered, these percentages and the beliefs of young men. Okay, white people in the U.S. have certain advantages because of skin color. At least people are being conscious of race and they realize that white privilege is real, and it has an extended run, but that is slowly changing over time. But the majority of people still believe that that is indeed the truth, and that is, I think, where liberal values have come into play and show the fact that white privilege is real. Guys have their reputation destroyed just for speaking out their minds these days. Their reputation destroyed because they're speaking their mind these days. That's absolutely true, especially on social media. If you are of a mindset that go against women will try and tear you down in the comments. Women will try and tear you down on social media. Absolutely true. That is absolutely true. And it shows in the percentages. Men should be represented and valued more in society. 61%. Yes, and I've talked about this on Talk Live ad litem. A whole swathe of men out there are not valued in society. They're seen as disposable. Either you can protect and provide, or you're no good to me. Or men are seen as no good to their society, to their community, to their group. That is absolutely true. Women are way more valued in society these days than men. That goes without saying. There are more support, relief programs for women. Men, if they fail maybe some maybe some mental health issues, but those are few and far between. But if you fail as a man in terms of protection and provision, you're usually out in the street. Yeah, so that's true. Feminism is favoring women over men. Nowadays it is, yes, absolutely. And it's shown by 51% of women of the of those who participated in this poll. And that is true. Feminism used to be about equality. Now it's about superiority. Yes, absolutely. Things would be better if women held more powerful positions in things would be better if women held more powerful positions and men did more around the house. Well, again, you're not going to get a vote in that reign. There's 33% of men. So again, this is more skewed to the feminist the feminist gaze and the feminist outlook. However, this was written in the Guardian. This was written in the Guardian. So it seemed to be the Guardian in the UK. It seemed to be more of a left wing. I wouldn't say left wing, but more of a center left sort of newspaper. So it's non-surprising to see such a deep dive revealed in such a paper. Let's continue.
In my last video, I talked about how if you are somebody who has a family, or like me, have a new family, these conversations are more important to you because you realize you're going to be having these conversations with your children. And it's so obvious to me that when you hear women speak about where they stand politically, they shun masculine men and the dynamic of a woman submitting to her man, especially if you're a Christian. That idea of even being inspired to govern your marriage from a Christian perspective. Through love, yes. Through loving the woman in your life. Because, they'll paint it like these women don't want that. No. But they're against all that. I had a conversation recently with a woman who was talking to me about how much, because it makes sense. She said something there about college education and
listen close.
How it's related to a lot of these chicks' perspective, politically, socially, how they view relationships. And she said, I went to college and I was brainwashed. A woman told me this. She said she went to college and they brainwashed her. And I said, well, what did you think? I thought I was Wonder Woman. I thought I did not need a man at all. I thought there was no need for a man. I thought I was this boss babe, that I needed nobody and I could do it all by myself. And she talked about her attitude and the type of attitude she had when she approached men. It gave off that energy. And so all this...
Stop that for a second. That is absolutely true. Colleges and universities, especially in the Western world, are seen as indoctrination machines. Absolutely right. That is where, if you're going to be a feminist, it is usually formed in those places of higher learning. It goes without saying. You don't really learn it in high school so much. You don't hear it in elementary school, but definitely it's happened in college. That's when they start growing their armpits. That's when they start shaving their head. That's when they start coloring their hair. That is when the feminist ideal takes hold. College and university. That's when they become indoctrination machines. We have a comment here from Lana. Your quote reminds me of how England shifted away from Churchill's iron fist post World War II peace. Which quote reminds me of that? There, Lana. Do let me know. Do let me know. Do let me know about that. But yeah, I would say in terms of indoctrination, especially to the feminist mindset, it happens in college. That's when the single independent don't need a man. I'm a boss babe. That's when it starts taking hold, right in colleges and universities. Yes, yes, and yes, and it really doesn't serve any purpose for a woman, because that should, though, especially with black women. Yes, especially with them, but that really doesn't take hold and shape with a whole lot of women these days, especially if they are looking for marriage, looking for a man who's going to protect and provide them going forward. There are schools, there's a school of thought like that. There are women who search this out, especially those of different races. But in terms of the black women, the least married, the most divorced. Yes, yes, yes. And yes, that is indeed the case. Indoctrination machines, yes, that's what colleges and universities are. Let's continue.
Makes sense. And I can definitely see how the men who choose to maybe enter the trades, because they're, they understand.
Stopping there for a second before we get into the trade talk, we have another comment from Lana BK. It was interesting how there's a direct correlation between the women and men both becoming more liberal in their the correlation between both women and men becoming more liberal in their views. Yes, as I said, it happened during the Obama administration. That happened during that's when things really started taking hold and shape. And in terms of the economy, things were really prosperous. He had a very popular president. So people started taking a more conservative viewpoint. But that's before the Me Too movement. That's before Trump started taking hold and things started moving towards its conservative slant. But thank you very much for the comment there, Lana BK. I wish that the lady who commented on that last segment would have done as much research herself. Anyways, we continue with what Chisa Zed had to say here. Let's just get back to it. There we go. I was popping in and out. There we go. Back to it. Sorry about that. Let's continue with it. Thank you very much for joining me. Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. As sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTLK.com. Let's go.
And that maybe a trade will pay more than an office job. You're looking at money that actually pays you more. And college right now is seen as a financial trap from the perspective of a lot of people. It doesn't mean that college isn't right for you if you need it. But a lot of men are deciding, you know what, I don't. And the unintended result of that is that they miss out on all this feminist, and I do mean feminist for men too, because they want to produce more male feminists. They miss out on all this feminist popping.
AKA the Soy Boys. AKA the Soy Boys. Let's continue.
When you ask a lot of these chicks the type of man they want and the type of man they'll describe as attractive, a lot of these chicks will talk about a provider and a man who does this and does that. At the same time, we're equals. Just confusion all across the board.
Who's more attractive?
Stop here. Before we go into that, hold on. Before we get into that, it is true. A lot of men have decided to check out of higher education, especially college universities, and decide to get into the trades because those are the only early areas of employment where you get you're guaranteed a good rate of pay, and there isn't really any gender sort of competition as well. So a lot of men have decided to go away. I mean, my dad was in the trades. My dad had gone into more of a blue-collar effort, and again, he made a good amount of money doing so. So, I don't begrudge a man for getting into the trades, getting into construction, getting into the utilities, getting into the dirty jobs, getting into the jobs that move society forward, because those are the jobs that pay well, and those are the jobs that are, really made for one gender, because women, if it came down to it, they would much rather sit in air-conditioned offices doing clean work. Let's continue.
The man who does this and does that, at the same time, we're equals. Just confusion all across the board.
Who's more attractive, liberals or conservatives?
Conservative men, absolutely.
My boyfriend, he's a conservative, baby.
Conservatives.
Not even a question. Conservatives, all the way.
They usually believe in God. They have those good foundational values. Better to raise a family with, in my personal opinion.
My question to you guys.
Stop there for a second. That's from a bunch of, college university age ladies who say themselves, if they wanted to bond with a man, it's best to be with a conservative. That's usually the case, and I feature here in Talk Live all the time. whether you are feminist or whether you are traditional. All women want conservative men because they are the ones who would eventually protect and provide for women. No doubt about it. They feel much safer with a man of conservative viewpoint because he will instill religion in God. He will protect the family. He will provide for the family wholeheartedly. And he will be the financial system, order, and structure, as my friend Kristen Cure would say, towards a family generating generational wealth, and also being the foundation for greater prosperity of that family in its eventuality. Let's continue.
Did that ad just feel a bit cringe? You know, it just seemed a bit disingenuous and just very cringe. I don't know, man. It just seems like she's trying really hard.
Ah!
Kamala, is it just me, or is your campaign running like somebody sent 10th graders to plan a wedding? Girl, what is going on? It feels like your whole campaign team is DEI hires.
Stop there for a second. I want you to notice a subtle detail in this woman's outlook. Clearly, she's critical of Kamala Harris, but you can see that there's a reason why she is. Notice her right, which should be her left hand. It has a ring on it. It has a ring on it, ladies and gentlemen. And with that ring comes a certain, how should I say, je ne sais quoi, in terms of a woman's outlook and viewpoint. She'll tend to be a lot more conservative and a lot more critical in terms of her thinking with regards to feminism, with regards to left-wing politics. Women who are protected and provided for usually take on the political views of their men. And clearly that's happened in this case. Clearly it's happened in this case. Kamala Harris is being critiqued by this by this wife, this African-American wife, who realizes that her man is a protector and provider, and who instills her with the lifestyle that is so coveted by all women, to be fair, but also realizes that in order for this lifestyle to happen, a man has to be able to protect and provide, and usually that correlates itself with being conservative in his outlook. Not to say, for the most part, that men have to be conservative in this viewpoint, but more or less it's usually centrist right. I think Obama was that in his day. I think Kamala Harris tends to be a little more left in her viewpoint, and you can see that quite simply. And so we have this lady here who's calling out Kamala for how she has carried herself during this campaign. Let's continue. Yes, we have a comment here from Lana BK. The quote about strong men in peace times not needing the strength during. The quote about The quote about strong men and peace times not needing the strength during peace. Yes, exactly. That's true. That goes without saying. It's true. Yeah, and it goes back to your last statement here. Reminds you of England shifted away from Churchill's iron fist post World War II. Yeah, well, that's when the baby boom started hitting. But again, men for the most part were conservative still in those times. They didn't exactly turn away from that wholeheartedly in those times because that was a conservative time in history. Without saying, compared to the way it is now, yeah, absolutely, still a conservative time in history. From then on to the 60s into the 70s, that's when conservative viewpoints still held sway for the majority of most populations. Let's continue. Thank you very much for the comment, Lana. Well done.
You guys are so bad. I was watching. All right, so here's the thing, Kamala. I watch all of your interviews. All of them, because I cannot believe it. Sometimes, and I've been lied to in the past. I've been given things out of context and it made me draw conclusions. So it made me go and seek the full context of things. So now I go and watch it, and I don't watch the clips. I don't watch the deep dive. I watch your interviews. I don't watch nobody but you. Kamala, you really are going to show up to every single interview and give the same answers, regardless of the question? You're really going to keep telling us that you were raised in a middle class family?
I should.
Yeah, she's very, very repetitive in terms of her background. The fact that she's raised in a middle class family, the fact that she flipped burgers at McDonald's, the fact that she has it's very formulaic, very, very formulaic, very, very scripted, and she repeats it time in, time out. Maybe it's for retention that she does that, but she doesn't usually stray out the path of the script. And a lot of people are seeing through that. Let's continue.
I should say this: I haven't watched every interview from either candidate. Right? I've seen bits and pieces here, but at this point, right now, especially, I think it's because we're getting closer to the actual end of election year. It's seeping over into these topics I talked about, and women just straight up saying, I am not willing to date a man with conservative values. And they're not talking just politically, but they're talking about traditional conservative values within a marriage.
You gonna keep talking to us about that woman who owned the child care center above the apartment you lived in. You not gonna stop. We got 3 weeks to go. You're not gonna stop.
No,
that man asked you how many migrants you think crossed the border since you've been in power, and you said, let's get right to the point. Kamala, that's the point. The question is the point.
Now, this was if you didn't remember where this what she's referring to. She's referring to the Fox News interview that she did recently over the last, I would say, within the last week. In which she was literally called out for her immigration plan, and she had no answer to how badly it was handled by the Biden administration. Let's continue.
You wouldn't answer it. Okay, fine. Then you start carrying on about how Donald Trump has lost his mental faculties. He's in cognitive decline. He's crazy. Somebody needs to do something about him. And the person that's interviewing you responded by asking you when you knew Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, because I won't speak for nobody else. I knew Joe Biden was in cognitive decline in 2019. It was during the presidential debates. I think, Kamala, I think you were one of the people who called him out on stage. So in my opinion, that's how long you've known that Biden has been in cognitive decline. The man asked you a question. You're not going to answer it? Okay, because that's what we're all wondering. We're all wondering, number one, how long did you know? And number two, when did you start conspiring against them?
When indeed did she start conspiring against them? Because I can tell you, I can kid you not, that she played this like a fiddle. She knew that if she hung in there and she became the vice president, she knew that this man was on his last legs and she could instantly take over to be the president. It was very, very House of Cards of her. Absolutely. If anybody's seen the show House of Cards, an excellent show. I'm just reliving it now with my girlfriend. It's probably the best political drama in history. I'll say that right now. It's probably the most realistic political drama in history. Yes, it fell on hard times, unfortunately. Diddy be dead. Diddy, I'll hold my beer. However, it really speaks to that because Frank Underwood, who was the protagonist in the show, the hero within the play, he started out as whip, and he basically knew that if he moved certain ways and if he did certain things, he'd become vice president. And I believe that being the case right here, right now, in that if Kamala knew that this guy was that Joe Biden was in cognitive decline, and if she moved herself, because being a black Asian woman, she hit the DEI markers. And if she moved herself in certain ways and means, she could become vice president, and as a result, she could then become president of the United States. So she played this like a fiddle. Very Machiavellian of her. Very 48 laws of power of her. If you've read the book, let's continue.
You start conspiring against him. We want to know. I don't know who's running your campaign, but my theory is that they are all DEI hires, just like you. Just like you. Because I watched the primaries in 2019. I saw your performance on stage. It was weak. You didn't answer Tulsi Gabbard when she spoke to you about the thousands of men that you locked up. Honestly, Kamala, you could have done yourself the favor of denying it. You know you didn't even deny it, right? You just skated over it like you're doing everything else. That's why I'm inclined to believe that just you have 10th graders planning your wedding. Like I watched you on Charlamagne's podcast. That's the one. Girl, why did you and Charlamagne go to a swing state to have a radio podcast done with a glass screen that had 11 black men on the other side? Why would you not go to the people that are local to the swing state? I have so many questions. I've never been so shockingly confused in my entire life, Kamala.
And I can tell you something right now. All those questions she may be a free thinker and she looks like an intelligent individual herself, but they're either co-signed or they were the seeds were planted by her husband. I can guarantee you that. Because the one thing that husbands are critical thinkers. They will not give a man the benefit of the doubt without proof. And I can guarantee you, seeds were planted in her head by her husband. Yes, indeed. Planted in her head, and as a result, she has become more of a, she's critiqued Kamala's, she's seen the error in Kamala's ways, and she's not falling for the okie doke. And kudos to her. She has done her own research. She's seen all of her interviews, and she's seen patterns in her modus operandi, in the way she carries herself. And it's plain to see that this is not exactly the best of candidates. Let's continue.
Let me see. What other question I got for you? Come on. Why are you... Well, I'll give you credit. Every time they ask you, you say that you don't think you deserve any votes. You have to fight for every single vote. But you know that black men... Why would a black man vote for you if you made the conscious decision to marry a white man?
Bingo! The $60 million question has been asked. And I've been waiting for this all show. Let me say this. Let's get here. Sit down. Let's get down to brass tacks. 2007, while Barack Obama was campaigning to be president of the United States, do you think that he would have got the push from the black female vote if he didn't have a black wife? Let me repeat myself. Do you think Barack Hussein Obama, God love him, would have got the black female vote if he did not have a black wife? Please comment down below on that. But I'll tell you my opinion right now. I don't believe he would have got it at all. He would be fighting for black female vote the same way Kamala is right now. And that is indeed the crux of it. Why would Kamala want the black male vote if she doesn't love a black man herself? let's get down to the nitty-gritty. If she does not love a black man herself, she has loved a white man, a Jewish man, and that's all well and good. Lord knows black women are celebrating it to the hilt, to the highest of highs. But if the roles were reversed, and if, let's say, Barack Obama had a white wife, would he receive the push from black female voters the way he did in 2007 into 2008? I can guarantee you he wouldn't. I can guarantee you the roles would be reversed right now. And that is one of the cruxes of the issue. Not only her platform and the fact that she and how she rolls out policies. Again, we have to take that into account. We have to observe that wholeheartedly. But in the back of every black man's minds, she sees black men see themselves as being not good enough for her because she chose a white man. And they are a bit skeptical in terms of voting for Kamala Harris, because I tell you what, if Kamala Harris was campaigning with a black man, she would probably be president of the United States right about now. It would not even be close. She would be basically winning in a landslide. But what she did, she chose love, fine, all well and good, but there is a political price to pay for it. Outside of policy and politics, yes, we're going to decide on those issues first and foremost, but in the back of one's mind, there is that. And I can tell you now, if Barack Obama campaigned with a white woman on his arm throughout the country, he would barely receive a vote from the black female Democrats out there today. The same issues would visit Barack Obama then as they're visiting Kamala Harris now. Plain and simple. Because one thing that we can say about black women, they, especially in the United States, they hate to see a upwardly mobile, successful, over 6-foot black man with a white woman on his arm. Can't stand it. And it would be reflected in the vote. Guaranteed. Barack would not have the landslide victories he had in 2008 and 2012, because if he did not have a black woman on his arm, period.
Or you think we don't see you? I'm telling you, that's the part that's blowing my mind. I think the part that's blowing my mind is the fact that you keep pretending as though we don't see you, or we don't watch the interviews, or I don't even know what. Matter of fact, I'll give you one better. Charlemagne asked you why you keep repeating yourself. He asked you that. And you know what you said back? He said, because you got to say things at least 3 times for people to really retain it. No, that's not true. I don't need to hear something 3 times to retain it. That's not true.
One thing I give Barack Obama credit for is the fact that his oration skills were absolutely elite. Barely would he have to repeat himself in terms of conversations. And he would go off the cuff many a time. You can see this guy was a debate/oration master. It's not the same for Kamala. She needs to go on script or else she would be found out. And she's already been found out on the campaign. And this black woman here, this lovely one, has found out herself. Go figure.
I have so many questions.
All right, guys, that's it. What do you guys think of the video? And I want to
Thank you very much, Achisa Zed, for that. That is, I waited 21 minutes for that one point, and it is so very, very true. Yes, we can talk about divergences in terms of the more conservative, as men go older, the more conservative they become, and especially now after the Me Too movement and after the advents of Trump and Andrew Tate and Fresh and Fit and the like, and so on and so forth, and the Red Pill movement. But one has to take into consideration the fact that, and we have to take into consideration how Kamala has not exactly been more convincing in rolling out her policies. However, what must be said in the back of people's heads is this race issue. It's still there, still pervasive, and if the roles were reversed, it would be even more in the spotlight. Let us move on here to another video. Quite simply, we're gonna try and take this as quick as possible. This one, Kamala Harris super cringe pop the balloon campaign ad. Let's move that out of there. Bang. And we hear from Fawcett Media, I believe. Yes, Fawcett Media. Do subscribe to Fawcett Media, doing wonderful things in the YouTube streets. I haven't seen this myself, but let's get into it right now. Thank you very much for joining me in Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let's get down.
In this campaign, the pandering is at an all-time high.
Hello, ladies. I'm Terry. It's good to be here.
What do you do and how much do you make?
I work in finance, making six figures.
How tall are you?
6'5".
Do you have a plan to vote in November?
Nah, not my thing.
They have made a pop the balloon ad for y'all because they think that's what's getting through to y'all. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say they think you're stupid. They do think you're stupid. Just like this whole thing about, they're doing things for black men at the last minute, and then comes to find out that those things were already in her plans for everyone. So basically, it was just a bribe to get you out to the vote. It's ridiculous, man. They're insulting your intelligence on a daily basis. I want you to understand that. I want you to make that point very clear. Don't let anybody pressure you. I've heard some disturbing stories about people's families trying to influence them. I don't sit here and tell you what to do. You're grown. You do what you want to do. But when you have people who are so dead set on propaganda that has been given to them, because that's exactly what it is. It's propaganda, misinformation at this time. And you got a candidate that has given you no solid policy, no nothing, but you're just expected to vote for her. And you don't even know who's in charge. You don't even know what's going on. If you get...
Let's stop there for a second. We have a comment in from Lana BK. Yes, but I'll just quickly comment that indeed you're being gaslit into the pop cultural zeitgeist, and basically asked to say that if you don't want to have your balloon popped, you need to vote, and you need to vote for Kamala, and also follow the rule of six. But again, we've already talked about that. Lana BK has gone on and said, in regards to Kamala's interrelationship, haven't you said not all folk is kinfolk? Tell that to the black women of 2007, or even today, and see what your response will be. They would not care. They would not care. I can guarantee you that. All kinfolk aren't skinfolk. Wouldn't care. Wouldn't care. Black women are very, very upfront in terms of their views on if you are in a relationship, an interracial relationship or not. Thank you very much for the comment, Lana. But I can guarantee you, if Barack Obama was campaigning with a white woman in 2007 and 2011, I can guarantee you things would have been a lot rougher then, because women would have voted down racial lines, especially black women. I can guarantee you that. Let's continue.
Duped by the Pop the Balloon show as a political messaging, then you deserve what you get. Unfortunately, you are one of the people that can be led around by the nose instead of actually taking command and being a leader. We've got too many people trying to impress upon other people of what they should be doing in the voting booth. I've never seen this. You know what I mean? So many people in the past were entitled to their own political opinions. It was nothing but your personal business, and it still is. That's what it ultimately comes down to. But I've never seen a group of people try to be so bold as to impress on other people what the hell they should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's shameful. It's ridiculous, and you all need to stop. Let these people do what they want. If you feel victory slipping, because I've heard some of the polls, it's starting to look like that. That's not the way to do it. Obama coming out talking trash about people and being disrespectful to men, that's not the way to do it. And this is the problem. At the last minute, you try to do something for a group that you've neglected this whole time. You've neglected men this whole time. You have not made their needs a priority, and now at the last minute, you want to try to tell them what to do. You're not nobody's mother. Some people really have
Stop that for a second there. I cannot tell a lie. A lot of Kamala's policies are catered towards women. I gotta say, they are catered a lot towards women, especially in terms of abortion, especially in terms of immigration, especially in terms of startup home. A lot of them are very female, very feminist centric. Very feminist centric. And they're trying to gaslight you and guilt trip you, a lot of men, especially black men, into voting, especially through this Pop the Balloon ad to vote for Kamala Harris instead of voting on policies that favor men in terms of small business, in terms of taxes, in terms of inflation, in terms of reduction of inflation. These have not been addressed. A lot of them are very female centric, are very, as the ladies would say, it's giving feminism. Very, very much lady centric policies. And they aren't taking into consideration the black male vote. They're not considering the vote of men in particular. Period. They are trying to guilt trip you into voting for Kamala Harris, and a lot of men aren't taking the okie doke these days. Definitely not.
They're actually trying to put their thumb on the scale and tell them what to do, which is crazy to me. If you're 18, you're an adult. You can make your own decisions. You don't have to listen to your mommy and what she's doing. And the thing is, they think our needs are all the same. They take your needs for granted, and they want their stuff to be priority.
But isn't that Modern Woman 101? Their needs come first before your needs. Your needs are secondary. Their needs come first. They're seen as the prize. They're seen as the trophy. All women see themselves as trophy wives these days because of what they see on social media. Just saying. Is it surprising? No. Social media has conditioned them to do that. Colleges and universities have conditioned them to see that. See themselves as a prize. See themselves as single, independent, not need a man. Being very, very focused on themselves. And not thinking of their men and their future families. No. Or their families, period. No. Nothing surprised me of that. Nothing surprised me of that. Let's continue.
Well, I'm telling you, you're in for a rude awakening. You prioritize Megan Thee Stallion, you prioritize Lizzo, or whoever else, and you've neglected a large portion of your voter base. Because, it's not just men. It's particular groups that feel left out of the conversation because of the agenda that's being pushed. So you get what you deserve.
And do remember, Kamala wasn't exactly fighting for black men while she was a district attorney in California. Look it up, people. We've already been featured that on Talk Live here itself. Yeah, her respect of black men and her catering black men is shameless in and of itself. Continue.
Work for it, you don't get it. You don't work, you don't eat. He's 6'5", works in finance, and he doesn't have a plan to vote. It's ridiculous. I get it. It's supposed to be cute, but the thing about it is, it's just more of the same. It's more of the same. More cringe behavior. It's the same thing as...
Don't forget to say, superstar! Thank you, Mary Catherine. Thank you, Kamala. Thank you.
This is the most cringe campaign, and I think it has a lot to do with the person that is in charge of it. They've had so many publicity stunts and weird little things that they're going to do to get out the vote. And they're using Lizzo, the trendy young star, to get out the words about her hometown, Detroit. Now, the funny thing is, like, Lizzo was involved in some serious allegations with her backup dancers recently, and she kind of been out of the spotlight for a while. But all of a sudden, she pops back up for this Kamala Harris campaign stop.
I'm so proud to be from this city. You know, they say if Kamala wins, then the whole country will be like Detroit. Okay? Proud like Detroit. Resilient like Detroit.
This campaign is just tone. They don't understand.
Detroit is one of the worst cities in the United States. Period. Proud and resilient? My God. They're going through a regenesis, yes, understood, but many pockets of Detroit, and I mean the majority of Detroit, is an absolute wasteland. You do not want to see Detroit as the shining example of fiscal responsibility and renewal and civic renewal. Don't want to see it that. Detroit is one of the most economically deprived cities in the United States. One of the least likely cities that people would like to move to right now. I hope things change for Detroit, but to be an example of a successful city, that is very, 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 and shout out to my people from Detroit, let me say that. But you've had it rough and still have it rough. And to gaslight people to think that things are good, if not better nowadays, is a bit disingenuous, to be fair. Let's continue.
Popular culture, they don't understand, having Megan Thee Stallion come out and twerk in Atlanta is disrespectful. They're throwing celebrities in our face to make us think that this is what we need. This is somebody on the ground in Detroit. This shows you how tone deaf they are.
Here we go. Don't believe me? Just watch.
Man, this is the part of the city they don't show you when you're not downtown where everything's new and fresh and there's revitalization. This is blight. This is what it looks like.
This is a hellscape.
Vacant lots, bandos, broken down cars, boarded up houses. It's not even right. And this isn't the only video I saw like this. I've seen many, many videos like this of dudes just driving through and yeah, maybe Trump was actually right when he said,
this is Detroit city limits.
Isn't popping right now.
Not too far away from downtown. This is Detroit.
He said Kamala's going to make the whole country like Detroit. Kamala's balloon is possibly being popped. I like that. Might put that up there. So it says this Harris ad, campaign digital ad, targets college campuses in battleground states. Why are Democrats so angry and violent? This is adorable and hilarious. Did you make this? Was a team effort. Okay, so I think this is the guy responsible for this. Deputy Director of Creative Strategy and Paid Media, Kamala Harris, Brian McBride. Okay, so
let's go back to Brian. Let me go back to Brian here just quickly. Yeah. Why am I not surprised it's part of the Alphabet Gang? Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised?
Media, Kamala Harris, Brian McBride. Okay, so this is the same guy. They got him in multiple ads here, look like. Digital campaign. It looks like just regular like TikTok, but they're basically hiring people with production companies to do this.
A really nice place. Have you been here before?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite spots. I bring everybody here.
I said not go on a lot of dates, but
If you didn't see that on Talk to Talk Live, please, that's another ad that I haven't even seen yet. And the fact that you didn't vote cancels your chances at finding love is one of the most ridiculous ideas for a campaign advertisement I've seen possibly ever. Because you did not vote for Kamala. Recognize the subliminal message here. If you didn't vote for Kamala, people should get up and leave the table. Get up and leave any sort of prospect of protection and provision. Get up and leave because you are not as liberal as they are. Yeah, they're talking about, as we saw in the previous article from The Guardian, the fact that there's a separation between men, Gen Z men and Gen Z women. I can guarantee you that separation was started with women. Men have pretty much held strong, as you've seen during the charts, but women have separated themselves in terms of their viewpoint, their political viewpoint of men. Another cringeworthy ad. Unbelievable the depth she's falling to. But again, she wants you to vote for her because of sight unseen policies, and add to the fact that her history with black men in California wasn't exactly stellar. Add to the fact that, well, racially, she doesn't see you as being worthy of marriage because she never took a chance on you in the first place.
Hello, ladies. I'm Terry. It's good to be here.
Okay, so it's the same guy. So he's just a pawn in this. He's just a pawn in this. Basically, push the message of voting. Getting weird, y'all. And you geniuses wonder why she's got a black man problem or a male voter problem. Yeah, I think what it is their whole idea of this, pop the balloon. Oh, they saw that Pop the Balloon gets views. Do they know why people watch Pop the Balloon? They watch it to see the train wreck. So the fact that you're putting it out there like this is something that men aspire to be, that this is going to get through to the male voter, it's misled. It doesn't make sense, but it misses the point. It misses the point. This ad just shows them skipping a guy who doesn't vote. So why would that be a problem for the men who vote? Not making sense. Oh, right, the great P embargo of 2022. Look, whoever thought this was a good idea clearly doesn't understand why men are turning away from Harris. They really don't get it. This is hilarious. I told you, tone deaf. They don't understand
get
what
it.
they're doing. For real, this ad appeals to black women more than black men. LOL.
There it is.
Like those whoas wouldn't drop their panties for him after 2 shots of Fireball anyway. That's all it takes. 2 shots of Fireball. These are whoas. Whoas. They don't really care who gets elected. Just so long as they can sling that P all over F-boys, they happy. The Democrats got their party of sluts. Look, they're actually turning people off with this type of stuff. Because, yeah, pop the balloon girls are nobody to judge. And I think what it comes down to, y'all got it twisted. The people who should be listened to, the people who have been listened to traditionally, have been men. Sometimes there's a reason for that. And I think so many people that are so far off into their own reasons for voting for Kamala are not listening to black men when they bring up their valid reasons for not wanting Kamala Harris to be the next president. So I think you all get caught up in the idea that there is no other answer, that you are the most knowledgeable, and that anybody else who disagrees with you is silly, not serious. Like when it really comes down to it, you probably should stop and think about why so many people are resistant to this thing. Why so many people aren't just going along to get along. Where does that lead us every time? You know what most men can't stand is a know-it-all. And I think a lot of these women are coming off as know-it-alls.
Really? Modern women are seen as know-it-alls? Really? Single, independent, I don't need any men? Those women are seen as know-it-alls? Really? That's quite astute of you. That's quite erudite of you to say. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you get them into colleges, and they come out as sassy females who think that the world owes them something, and that they know all that needs to be known about the world. Go figure, huh? Stands to reason, really. Anyways, let's continue. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live.
Without really understanding what's going on here, without really understanding how they're being misled, that's unfortunate. But it's too late. It's too late now. November 5th, we're gonna see, and somebody's gonna be right, somebody's gonna be wrong, or you can just run out of the country like you said you were gonna run out of the country the last 3 elections. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments.
Thank you very much to the one and only Fawcett Media. He's doing wonderful things in YouTube streets. Please like and subscribe to Fawcett Media if you can and wills, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we're going to get into Rory and Mal. They did start us off with regards to this. And listen, unanimously from men, this is cringe-worthy stuff. This was supposed to strike a nerve with us. And to be fair, it's not making a dent at all. Rory and Mal will just... I wanted to give from 3 points of view of men, all 3 of different, I would say of certain age. I would say most of these guys are millennials slash Gen X. I believe Fawcett Media is a Gen X himself. But again, it's from a whole stream of men who are starting to show their conservative outlook and viewpoint. Thank you very much for joining me in Talk Live. We're going to continue with this. Finally get the views of Rory and Mal.
Over the weekend as well, outside of movie trailers, I did see one of the... I can't tell if it's the worst or best campaign ad I've seen in presidential history.
This is the worst campaign ad you've seen in presidential history. Oh, here we go. All right, well, talk about it, and then we'll play it, because if you're listening, you should know what we're talking about.
So, for those that don't know, on YouTube, there's this balloon game. What's the official name?
Let's skip by the balloon ad.
Essentially, a bunch of women will be standing in line, and they have a balloon, and a guy will come up, and the host will ask him questions.
Let's skip by that. Let's hear what they have to say about the ad itself.
Actors make six.
I don't. What did he say he was? An engineer or some shit?
Well, he's
finance.
acting.
He said he's in finance, but he's acting. He's in acting.
Okay.
So what's your point?
That I don't think he works in finance.
No, because he's an actor.
How much do you think they paid him for this acting?
Oh my
This is an ad. No, how much do you
usual,
think?
like, yeah.
Okay, we've already talked about the fact that this he may be an actor, but he is enacting women's wishes in terms of a man. The rule of six still applies. We've all been there. We've all seen it. Let's continue. There's a reason why it's scripted as such. Believe me, women would not fall far from that assertion / truth. Let's continue.
Like $3,000, 2,500.
All right, I'm gonna really sound like, hey, do you guys recognize him from any other films?
That's not. Oh my God, Rory! You're such a
Is he an extra on Law and Order? Like,
what did he do to you other than like do his job?
nothing. You guys brought it here. I don't know. I think, pardon my white face, I think this is a little weird as like the only black outreach campaign ad, but they landed on this.
Is it the only black outreach campaign ad, or is it the only one that hit you because you were the demographic for it?
Also, I don't like that you're calling it black outreach.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just.
Who do you think their target audience was for this?
Black people aren't the only people that watch this.
Who, with a straight face, answer that question. Who do you think?
It doesn't matter what I think. I'm talking about what it is.
Okay.
Not only black people don't watch those shows.
Actually, I would be willing to bet more white people watch them shows than black people. Quiet as it's kept. But.
To Damaris's point, because those shows reinforce the stereotypes that white people always think about black people. They check in those little YouTube pages like, yep, there's still this. And
especially black women, to be fair, because they're the ones who's usually popping the balloon. Well, I mean, it goes both ways. But anyways, it helps reinforce black stereotypes. That's why I'm not a avid watcher of these things, because they're cringeworthy, to be fair, and superficial at the very least. And yeah, don't want to be anywhere near anything that just lowers my brain cell count.
On about their day.
So you think most of the views on those balloon shows are strategic racism? They're racist.
I don't think it's racist.
They're going there to check to see if
whether or not it's
what black
intended
people
to
are
be.
doing.
No, whether or not it's intended.
Oh, they're
to
still
be.
popping balloons. Thank God I'm racist.
I like this ad.
It was creative.
I don't mind
it. Did his job.
Yeah.
Why do you like this ad? I'm not even saying like I like it because like I the things I like about it have nothing to do with Kamala and Tim Walz. I think it's interesting to like this is a proper use of leaning into like the cultural zeitgeist, whatever you want to call it, and the younger demographic.
This is
like,
for the younger demographic.
This is current. This is an online thing. Like this is a digital show that lives on YouTube. They're drawing from, it's like an SNL skit. Like they're drawing from something that's cultural, something that's topical, and applying it to their campaign.
No, but in actuality, it's bringing into account real views of black women and what they want from their black men. They want them to be 6 foot tall. They want them to have a 6-figure salary, and they want them to vote for Kamala. So you want a leftward-leaning protector provider who makes a bag of money. Reinforcing stereotypes, but reinforcing the wishes of black women everywhere, especially young black women. To be fair, let's continue.
I'm not saying this is like, damn, they did the balloon game. Black people got to go out there and smash the vote button. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like,
vote or die.
It's like someone on their team is at least in it enough to understand that this is a thing that's currently happening and it matters, rather than like them wheeling out like this shit from like, you know, like it's like if Kamala were to tweet like Brad Summer this month, it's like you missed the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, agreed. And of course, this isn't the first time that they've tried to do culturally relevant things in campaigns. That's why I started saying I'm not sure if this is the worst or best ad. I'm just thinking out of all the things that we could be talking about with our campaign ads and policies, this is what you land.
But see, this is the thing, and they have those ads, but y'all aren't going to talk about those ads. That's why they make ads like these ones.
I've seen the effectiveness.
I've seen a million Kamala ads, and the same thing with Trump. But we don't talk about the ones where they're talking about policy and all of that stuff. That's not what we talk about, especially on this podcast. That's not the ones that go viral. The ones that go viral are what we make go viral. It's the same thing when we say there's no good music out. There's plenty of good music out, but we only talk about the fucked up shit, the bad shit.
Well, I think there's good music. But, okay, since you've seen 1 million campaign ads, we don't have to make it a Democrat thing. Can you actively tell me the 3 major policies of her and Donald Trump? Since there's 1 million ads explaining to me their policies.
No, because I don't pay attention to them. Okay. I'm not the person to talk about that, though. I'm aware that I'm not the person to talk about that.
That's fair.
And that is typical of most women. They are not the ones to talk about because they're not the ones who vote. Usually, women who vote are not very well informed of what they're voting for. That's why many say, I'm just commenting on how certain people feel, that women should not have the vote because they're uninformed just like this one. They don't know what's at stake. They don't understand policy. They just rather vote on identity politics. She's black. She's a woman. Vote for her. Do you know what she's talking about? No, but she's black and she's a woman, so that should be enough. Oh, and she'll repeal Roe v. The updated appeal of Roe v. Wade. That's it. That's it for most women. They don't understand what policies that she's advocating for. They don't understand how they'll affect people. They won't do the deep dive, people. There will be no deep dive here. It's going to be short, sweet, to the point. She's a woman? Check. She's a black woman? Check. She's an Asian woman? Check. She's running for president? Check. That's all I need, thanks. Sign her up. She's married to a white guy? Big check. Sign her up. She had a mother who took care of her? Check. Sign her up. Don't worry about policy. Don't worry about any of that. That's all she's voting for. So most women are mindless as this woman appears right now. Anyways, let's continue.
But because the one I'm going to pay attention to is that one.
I don't think there's, Trump working at White Castle isn't any better.
McDonald's. But that's the thing that I wanted to bring up. That Trump went to
Why
McDonald's.
is he at McDonald's?
He worked the grill. He dipped some fries in his
Kamala
oil.
said she worked there, and they found out she never.
Which, to Trump's, I like this. This is a funny. It's not only is it like a get back.
No, this is his bag.
It's not only
Trump,
is it a get
Trump
back
wants
at
to be an
Kamala, but
asshole.
it's good
Yeah,
PR.
he wants to be. He's gonna lean into. Oh, you think I'm an asshole?
This is petty. Look at he said.
If he would have passed a cat out of that drive-through window, that would have made it a whole nother.
Steal the vote. Steal it. It's over.
He said to a car.
Cats and dogs in McDonald's.
They're eating the cats in McDonald's.
He said to a car driving by, "I've now worked 15 more minutes than Kamala." That's funny. He is funny.
I listen. I get it. Politics aside.
Listen. I'll give. I'm gonna do some blowback on Trump. I think Trump is not exactly the most intelligent president out there, but one thing he is. And I think he's very polarizing, to be fair. And I don't think he's the best candidate for the Republican Party, bar none. I think he has skeletons in his closet, especially when it comes to black men that I am not exactly well pleased of. But one thing that he is he's gonna tell you what he thinks, and he's been in the office before. He knows what it is to run companies. He knows what it is to run policy. He has a better understanding of foreign policy. All these things vote in his favor. Now, he's not the most intelligent man in the room. He's not exactly. He is very, very much a man who's emotional, and he is butthurt, and you can bruise his ego, and he'll go off. These are all short points of him, absolutely. But when it comes down to it, yeah, Trump can be very, very funny, especially in this instance, especially in how he puts his point across. And people find that endearing. They find that real, to whether you like it or not. Let's continue.
I don't see how people don't like Donald Trump. Politics aside, like, how do you not like
comedian?
This? Like, imagine this was the guy that you worked for at McDonald's. Imagine that was. Like
I would never want to work
everybody,
for him.
and then
He probably
nobody
wouldn't
is
pay
taking
you.
that job serious.
He would
Everybody's having-
probably fire everyone and close the location and then file for bankruptcy. And then
But not if he was
then get
Donald-
rewarded with all the profits
I'm
while
talking
everyone
about
else
if he
loses
was
their job.
Donald Trump. I'm talking about if that was just his
Oh, just his personality.
Yeah.
That would be.
He is objectively funny.
He's hilarious.
Of course he is.
Yeah, but like this ad was not an ad. This
I just don't want a funny president.
near do I.
Why
Like-
not?
Like it was funny when it wasn't serious. Now he's hilarious, but it's
'Cause ain't shit
To be fair, Obama was a funny president. So let's call a spade a spade. Obama is hilarious. He is a stand-up comedian. Let's call it that. So you don't want a funny president? Obama was a funny president. Let's continue.
For real. Nothing is funny.
Oh,
Have you seen the world?
yeah,
Nothing is
that's
funny.
why it's funny.
What-
All these niggas is getting rich off of us.
Well, that's a fact. What was creepier though? Him trying to put fries together or JD Vance at that was it a donut shop?
Oh my god, that was so awkward.
JD Vance
That was
has,
one
When
of
he
the
walked
creepiest.
in and said, "So you work here?" She's like, "Yeah." Like what?
How long have you worked here? And they're like, yo, what do you want? Are you ordering? And he's like, yeah, just give me, give me the stuff.
The regular.
The stuff.
That was the creepiest moment I've seen any candidate do. Huh? Yeah? You live here?
How far the elections went? November 5th?
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, that is very soon.
Yeah.
it's very soon.
How y'all feeling?
3
Nervous?
Tuesdays from now. 2 Tuesdays?
Scared? Nervous?
Yeah, a bit. I mean, I'm petrified of both the results. So that would make me overall scared no matter what. But,
Are you guys doing early voting, or are you gonna go to the polls?
I'm going to go to the polls, touch the people, get the vibes.
Touch the people. You going to jail.
Just leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, man. Well done by Rory and Mal, and showing the funny side of things. But let's just get back to it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back to brass tacks. Let's see if there's any other comments here. Yes, indeed. We just hit the 2-hour mark. I wanted to be an hour, but Lord knows I would take it there. Is the Pop the Balloon ad supported to be a rage? Let me see. Rage baity. Okay, is the Pop the Balloon ad supposed to be rage baity or a pop culture reference to get people talking? I believe it's a pop culture reference to get people talking. Absolutely. I think it is. However, it misses the mark because the mark, Lada B. Gay, thank you very much for your comment, is for the Pop the Balloon ad to enlist black male voters. Do a name and shame. Say black male voters, well, you may have, you may be 6 feet, you may be six figures, you may have everything we want, but what we really want is your vote. And if you don't give us your vote, then you're less than. That's what it comes down to. And let's just bring it back to a full cam here so I can give my final thoughts. This is the problem with the ad in and of itself, and it is quite simple. I don't think Kamala Harris. Well, I mean, it does touch the cultural zeitgeist. Yes, however, is it reaching its intended audience, which are black male voters, the black male the black male constituency? And I don't think it does. I really don't think it does, and it leaves I think it misses the mark in terms of its intended target. Yes, it's funny, it gets people talking. However, is it going to get more black men to vote? Well, if they're named as such, I don't think it does. I really don't think it does. So I think it missed the mark. I think Kamala has done this out of desperation. Is it innovation? Yes. But it is more desperation than innovation, in the sense that she's trying to reach out to black male voters, and black male voters feel that they can be catered to in any way that they wish. It's showing that you need to be of a certain level, of a certain height, of a certain income bracket, of a certain voter, and must be a voter of in a certain way in order for you to enlist the gaze of black women, which is wrong in and of itself. I think it should be fought on policy. I think it should be fought on what you can do for men in general, black men in particular. And she hasn't hit the mark on it. And she has a week in order to do so, but I fear it may be too late. And that tipping point may tip things in the balance for Donald Trump. And what makes things worse is the fact that she hasn't, that black men would be admonished for the fact that they did not vote for Kamala. But if the roles were reversed, and if Barack Obama in 2007 was campaigning with a white wife, guess what black women would do? They would let it be known that their vote would not be counted for Barack Obama en masse. So, in answer to the question tonight, is this balloon pop ad, campaign ad, innovation or desperation? More desperation than innovation. I think this is, it's touching into the cultural zeitgeist, but it misses the mark in terms of its intended target. And Kamala has some quick work to do in order to convince black men and men in general of the vote, because quite simply, it's not working. It's simply not working to this point. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live. We're out of here. It's 11:30. I want to get on. I want to get on with the day and watch a little basketball after that Raptors 30-point loss. Anyways, but again, it's I don't know. Hope springs eternal, and it's just the beginning of the season. First match of the first game of the year, and we move on and move forward. And hopefully you can move on and move forward tomorrow. And thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Comment below on how you feel about the ad and what you feel, if it does hit the mark or if it doesn't. I want to hear from you, my people here on Talk Live on IG and YouTube, especially on the YouTube grade. We're going to get a Talk Live minute up and running on this because this is an important issue. And we'll be doing more of these chats as we lead up to the election of 2024. The leader of the free world, quite simply, the United States president. And we'll see where things lie in terms of, and things sway in terms of who will be elected president, either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. So we're going to say goodbye to our people here on Instagram. Thank you very much for joining me. Look forward to seeing you very, very soon. If not this weekend, then definitely next week. Thank you very much for Talk Live, and good night from Toronto. Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Live, ladies and gentlemen, on live on IG and YouTube. On YouTube, thank you very much for your commentary. Thank you very much for everybody joining in on the chat. It has made people think, and it's unfortunately make people think more negatively in terms of Kamala Harris, especially when it came to the target audience of the ads. And Kamala's got a lot of work to do before she can convince male voters, especially black male voters, of her sincerity and of their commitment to vote for her. And we'll see how things go in the days and weeks to come. Thank you very much for joining me.